Every living thing in Middle-earth could be tempted or corrupted by the ring, except one, and Tolkien never fully explained why. We've all been there, at the Council of Elrond, listening as the fate of the world hangs in the balance. We feel the weight of the decision, the sheer oppressive dread emanating from that small, simple gold band sitting on the plinth. Every great and powerful being in the room, Elrond, Gandalf, Galadriel, Aragorn, they all understand its seductive poison. They fear it. They know that to touch it is to be touched by it, to claim it is to be claimed. And then, in the midst of this world-defining crisis, a suggestion is made. Why not send the ring to Tom Bombadil? And for a moment, the tension breaks. Gandalf almost smiles, and he explains that Tom would be a poor guardian, not because he would be corrupted, but because he would simply not find the ring important. He would likely misplace it. Forget it. Treat the ultimate weapon of a dark god as a mere trifle, a curious stone to be picked up and then carelessly set aside. And in that moment, the entire logic of the story seems to fracture. Everything we've learned about this world, about the cosmic struggle between good and evil, is suddenly held in suspension by the existence of a single jolly fellow in a blue coat and yellow boots. Every hero has a weakness, every power has a limit, but here is a being who is seemingly immune to the central corrupting force of his entire reality. And the man who built this reality, J.R.R. Tolkien, the great architect of its languages, its histories, its metaphysics, he never gives us a clear answer. He calls Tom an enigma, an intentional one. But what if the lack of an explanation isn't a plot hole? What if it's the key? What if the thing that makes Tom Bombadil impervious to the ring isn't about what he is, but about what the ring is? What if, in understanding his immunity, we uncover a fundamental truth about power that Sauron himself, for all his dreadful wisdom, could never grasp? What does it mean when the most powerful object in the world meets the one person it can't understand? The quest to define Tom Bombadil has become a kind of cottage industry for Tolkien fans. The theories are as varied as they are passionate. The most common, and perhaps the most intuitive, is that Tom must be a Valar or a Maiar. He must be a divine spirit, a being of the same order as Sauron or Gandalf, but one who has gone native, so to speak. He possesses a casual power that seems to echo the world-shaping abilities of the Valar. He sings Old Man Willow into slumber. He commands the Barrow-wight to flee with a rhyme. This feels like the kind of power wielded by the angelic guardians of the world. It makes a certain kind of sense. If Sauron is a fallen Maiar, then perhaps Tom is an unfallen one, a direct counterpoint whose power is rooted in music and nature rather than in fire and domination. Another, more grandiose theory posits that Tom is none other than Eru Ilúvatar himself, the one supreme creator god of the entire universe, taking a little stroll through his own creation. This would certainly explain his absolute power within his domain and his complete immunity to the ring. What is a fragment of a subordinate's will to the being who conceived of will itself? He is called Eldest, the Master. He was here before the river and the trees, before the first raindrop. Who else could claim such a title but the Creator? This theory elevates him from a local mystery to the ultimate mystery, a divine presence hiding in plain sight. And then there are more abstract interpretations. Perhaps he is a nature spirit, the living embodiment of the spirit of Middle-earth itself, the raw, untamed life force of Arda, made manifest. He is not a person in the way an elf or a man is a person. He is a principle. He is the song the world sang before any thinking creature was there to hear it. These theories are comforting because they place Tom within the established hierarchy of the legendarium. They give him a box to fit in, a category on the grand cosmic org chart. They try to solve the enigma. But Tolkien himself systematically dismantled these tidy explanations. In his letters, he is explicit. When asked if Tom is Ilúvatar, he replies with a firm no. When the idea of him being a Maiar is floated, Tolkien is more circumspect but ultimately pushes back. suggesting Tom is something other, something outside the categories the reader has been given. He writes, "Even in a mythical age there must be some enigmas, as there always are. Tom Bombadil is one." This is where most analyses stop. They accept the author's statement, Tom is a mystery, full stop. But this is, I think, the first and most crucial misstep. To accept he is an enigma as the end of the conversation is to miss the point entirely. The statement isn't a wall, it's a door. Tolkien isn't telling us to stop thinking about Tom Bombadil. He's telling us we're thinking about him in the wrong way. We're trying to figure out what he is, to label him, to file him away. But the secret to Tom isn't in his classification, it's in his function. The question isn't, what is Tom Bombadil? The real question is, what does Tom Bombadil do to our understanding of Middle-earth? The key complication, the piece of evidence that unravels the neat and tidy theories, comes directly from the text. It's the scene in his house, the moment that so baffles the hobbits and should, by all rights, baffle us. Frodo, out of a sudden, inexplicable impulse, hands the ring to Tom. Think about the sheer weight of this moment. No one gives up the ring. Boromir will die for it. Gollum has already killed for it. Frodo himself will eventually be unable to surrender it. Yet here, in this strange, light-filled house, the ring's grip seems to loosen. Tom takes it. He looks at it with simple curiosity. And then he puts it on his finger, and nothing happens. He does not vanish. He simply stands there, a jolly man with a bit of gold on his finger, and winks at them. This single act is a metaphysical cataclysm. The ring's primary power, its ability to shift the wearer into the unseen world, has failed. It has no effect. But then it gets stranger. Tom laughs, and with a flick of his finger makes the ring disappear. He performs a little magic trick with the single most powerful artifact of his age. He has not just resisted the ring, he has demonstrated a casual, playful mastery over it. He then hands it back to Frodo, and to ensure the hobbit isn't being deceived, Frodo puts it on. He vanishes, as expected, but Tom can still see him. He calls out, "Hey, come back, take off your golden ring." This sequence is breathtaking in its implications. Tom Bombadil doesn't just exist outside the ring's influence, he exists on a completely different operational plane. The ring's laws of spiritual physics do not apply to him. He is not merely immune, he is irrelevant to its function, and its function is irrelevant to him. This is where we have to turn to another piece of primary evidence, a clue given not by Tom, but about him. When the hobbits first meet Goldberry, his wife, they ask her who Tom is. She gives them an answer that is as simple as it is profound. She says, "He is." Not, "He is a king," or "He is a wizard," or "He is a god." Just, "He is." She follows it up by saying, "He is the master of wood, water, and hill." The hobbits take this to mean he owns them. But Goldberry's first statement is the crucial one. He is. In the English language, it's the most fundamental declaration of existence. It's not a description, it's a statement of being itself. He is what he is, and what he is present. He is the embodiment of pure, unadorned existence. This isn't a title or a species, it's a state of being. And this state of being, this pure isness, is the foundation of his power and his immunity. The ring's power is predicated entirely on desire, on the gap between what a person is and what they want to be. It preys on ambition, fear, greed, and even the noble desire to protect. It promises to close that gap. For the ambitious, it offers power. For the fearful, it offers safety. For the greedy, it offers possession. It is a tool for becoming. But what does it offer a being for whom the statement, "he is a complete and total summary of their reality? To understand why the ring has no power over Tom, we have to perform a kind of forensic analysis of the ring's own nature. What is its core function? Sauron poured his malice, his will, and a great part of his own power into it. But for what purpose? The purpose was control. The ring is an instrument of domination. It was designed to control the other rings of power and through them to dominate the wills of their bearers. Its entire existence is defined by the verb to rule. It amplifies the desire to possess, to command, to order the world according to one's own design. This is the very essence of Sauron's own philosophy. He was originally a servant of Ollie the Smith, a being who loved order and craftsmanship, but Sauron's love of order curdled into a desire to impose that order on all other free wills. He could not abide anything that was not of his own making or under his own control. The ring is the ultimate expression of this philosophy. It whispers promises of mastery. To Gandalf, it promises the power to enact his great good upon the world, by force if necessary. To Galadriel, it promises the power to preserve her realm against the decay of time, to become a queen stronger than the foundations of the earth. It finds the will to power in everyone, no matter how noble, and latches onto it. It is a universal key for a universal lock, the desire for things to be different than they are. Now let's return to Tom Bombadil. What does he desire? The text gives us a very clear answer. Nothing. Nothing beyond what he already has. He is the master of his own small country, the old forest, and in mastery is not one of domination, but of deep, abiding knowledge and belonging. He does not command the trees to grow in a certain way. He knows their song. He does not enslave the river. He is married to its daughter. He doesn't seek to change his world. He simply is his world. His entire being is a rejection of the ring's central premise. Imagine the ring trying to tempt him. "I can make you the master of this forest," it would whisper, and Tom would reply with a booming laugh. "But I am already the master. I can give you power over all the creatures within," it would insist. "But they are my friends. Why would I want power over my friends?" he might say. "I can give you a kingdom that will never fade. But I love my little house, and Goldberry is waiting. It is enough." The ring offers nothing that Tom wants, because Tom's wants are perfectly aligned with his reality. He exists in a state of perpetual, joyful contentment. He is the living embodiment of the philosophical concept of enough. There is no gap between what he is and what he wants to be. And because there is no gap, the ring has no leverage. It has nothing to hook into. It is offering a solution to a problem that Tom Bombadil does not have. He is, in a very real sense, psychologically and spiritually off the grid. The entire network of desire and ambition that the ring uses to propagate its power simply doesn't exist in him. He isn't fighting the temptation. The temptation cannot even formulate itself in a way that he would understand. It's like trying to bribe a sunbeam. This brings us to a deeper, more speculative layer of understanding. Let's imagine a scene. Not one from the book, but one that could have been. Imagine Sauron in his dark tower with his great seeing eye. He senses the ring. He has been searching for it for centuries, and for a brief period he feels its presence in a strange, small, sunlit house on the edge of the old forest. He focuses his immense will, his dreadful perception, on that spot. And what does he see? He sees his ring, the vessel of his power and his very being, on the finger of a singing, nonsensical man in a blue jacket. And the man does not turn invisible. The man winks. Then, for a horrifying instant, Sauron feels the ring disappear. Not just from his sight, but from his metaphysical sense. It is gone. Then it returns. He would be utterly, completely baffled. Sauron understands power as a hierarchy. He understands domination, submission, rebellion, and conquest. He does not understand joyful indifference. Tom Bombadil is a blind spot in his cosmology. He is a data point that breaks the entire model. To Sauron, someone who has immense power and does not use it to control others is not just a fool. He is an impossibility. It would be like a physicist discovering a planet where gravity pushes things away instead of pulling them in. The very laws of his universe would be called into question. This is because Tom and Sauron represent two fundamentally opposing modes of existence. Sauron's power is extrinsic. It is projected outward. It seeks to remake the world in its own image. It is the power of the hammer, the forge, and the chain. It must consume and assimilate to survive. Tom's power, on the other hand, is intrinsic. It radiates from what he is. It is not projected outward to control. It is expressed outward as a form of being. It is the power of the song, the water, and the root. It doesn't need to change anything because it is perfectly in harmony with what is. He is not a king who rules his land. He is the land in a way, its oldest memory and its living consciousness. He is a subject, not an object. He is a verb, not a noun. This is an uncomfortable idea for us, just as it would be for Sauron. We are conditioned to think of power as active, as something to be wielded. We think of powerful people as those who can command armies, build empires, or shape economies. Tom Bombadil possesses a power that might be greater than any of them, but it is a power that is content within its own borders. He could not have taken the ring to Mordor. He would have failed the quest. But the fact that he exists at all is a philosophical challenge to the very nature of Sauron's evil. Evil, in Tolkien's world, is ultimately sterile. It can mock and destroy, but it cannot create. Tom Bombadil is the opposite. He creates nothing, yet he is the essence of a kind of primordial, unfallen creation. He is a living piece of the original music of the Ainur, still echoing purely in a world that has largely forgotten the tune. This distinction between types of power, the power to control versus the power to be, escalates when we look at Tom's interactions with the other ancient forces in his domain. He's not just a passive, smiling observer. He is an active force, a genuine master. When the hobbits are trapped by Old Man Willow, a being of immense and malevolent age, Tom doesn't fight it with fire or axe. He sings to it. He admonishes it like a grumpy old neighbor. You should not be waking. Eat earth. Dig deep. Drink water. Go to sleep. It's a command, but it's phrased as a restoration of proper order. He's not destroying the tree's nature. He's reminding it of its own true self, a self that should be dreaming deep in the earth, not trapping hapless travelers. It's a power based on a profound and ancient understanding. He knows the tree's name and its story. He was there before it. An even more dramatic example is the Barrow-wight. Here we have an evil spirit, a creature of shadow and cold, sent from the fallen kingdom of Angmar, centuries ago. It is a creature of Sauron's side of the metaphysical ledger. It captures the hobbits, lays them out like corpses, and begins to chant a spell of death. It is a moment of pure horror. And then Tom arrives, and what does he do? He sings a song. A nonsensical, joyful, powerful song. The darkness shatters. The barrow is broken open to the sunlight, and with another command, he sends the wight away. Get out, you old wight. Vanish in the sunlight. Shrivel like the cold mist, like the winds go wailing out into the barren lands far beyond the mountains. He doesn't just defeat the wight. He banishes it. He unmakes its reality. He asserts the primacy of sunlight and life over its cold, borrowed existence. This is not the act of a simple nature spirit. This is an act of profound authority. But notice the nature of that authority. It isn't derived from a weapon or a spell in the conventional sense. It's derived from his very being. He is eldest. He is the first. His claim to the land is absolute because he was there when the land was made. The Barrow-wight is an intruder, a shadow that has fallen on a place where it does not belong. Tom's power is the power of the original owner, the one who holds the deed to reality itself, telling a squatter to leave. The ring is an artifact of history. It was made in the Second Age. It is a product of ambition and conflict. Tom Bombadil is not a part of that history. He's a part of the geography, the geology. He predates the entire story of the ring. The struggle between Sauron and the Free Peoples is a grand and terrible war. But for Tom, it may be little more than a noisy argument happening in the upstairs apartment. He is concerned with the song of the river, the sleep of the trees, and the light of the stars. The ring's history, its power, its very meaning, are all concepts that are younger than he is. They are part of a story that began long after he was already here. So, we arrive at the peak of this investigation, the moment where all the threads begin to converge. The ring functions by interfacing with the will of its bearer. It finds the desire for power, for control, for a reality different from the one that exists, and it amplifies it. It is a parasite that feeds on the gap between is and ought. Tom Bombadil is a being in whom that gap does not exist. He is the living embodiment of is. His will and his reality are one and the same. Therefore, the ring's core mechanism fails. It's like a key for which there is no lock, a question for which there is no context. It's not that he is good in the way Gandalf or Aragorn are good. They are good because they actively struggle against evil and temptation. Their goodness is defined by their choices within a moral conflict. Tom exists outside that conflict. Gandalf says of him that if Sauron were to win, Tom would be the last to fall, but he would fall in the end because his country would be conquered. This is a crucial point. Tom is not all-powerful. He is not a strategic weapon. He is a philosophical constant. His power is absolute, but its domain is finite. He is the master of his own small land, and he does not seem to care about the world beyond it. He is a living sanctuary, but a sanctuary cannot go on a quest. This is the core insight, the central revelation. The ultimate limit on the ring's power is not a greater power, but a different kind of power, a power that does not seek to dominate, but simply to be. Sauron, the ultimate master of control, created a weapon that could dominate any will that sought to control it. The one thing he could not account for, the one thing he could not possibly comprehend, was a will that had no interest in the game of control at all. Tom Bombadil's immunity is the ultimate proof of Sauron's central flaw, his inability to imagine a mode of existence other than his own. His lust for power blinded him to the possibility of a power found in contentment. And this is where we must pivot, because this isn't just a story about a magical ring and a strange man in the woods. This is a profound meditation on the nature of power itself. Tom Bombadil is not just an enigma in a fantasy story. He is a challenge to our own understanding of what it means to be strong, to be important, and to be free. This pivot from the specific lore of Middle-earth to a universal human truth is where the true genius of Tom Bombadil lies. He represents a choice we all face, albeit in a less dramatic fashion. The world constantly whispers the ring's promises to us. It tells us we need more influence, more wealth, more control over our lives and the lives of others. It promises that happiness lies in closing the gap between what we have and what we want. It is the logic of ambition, of acquisition, of the endless, hungry ego. It is the logic of Sauron, and it is incredibly powerful. It builds empires and fortunes and technologies, but it is also a form of bondage. The more you desire to control, the more you are controlled by that desire. The ring promises mastery, but it delivers slavery to itself. Tom Bombadil represents the other path, the power of the local, the strength of contentment, the mastery that comes not from owning the world, but from knowing your own small corner of it so deeply and loving it so thoroughly that you want for nothing more. This is not a passive power. It is the active, daily choice to find the universe in a grain of sand. It is the power of the gardener who knows the name of every plant, the artist who finds infinite beauty in a single subject, the parent who builds a world for their child within the four walls of a home. In this reading, Golberry, the river daughter, becomes essential. She is not just Tom's wife. She is the co-creator of his reality. Their home is a place of light, song, and healing. It is a domestic space that is also a fortress, more secure against the darkness than many castles. Their power is a shared power, rooted in their relationship to each other and to their home. She is the overlooked hero of this entire philosophical framework. She embodies the life-giving, nurturing aspect of this intrinsic power. He is, she says, with the simple certainty of someone who knows and loves him completely. Their relationship is the bedrock of his reality. This form of power, the Bombadil power, cannot conquer Mordor. It cannot command legions. It will not be celebrated in the grand histories of men, but it also cannot be corrupted. It is a light that the shadows cannot extinguish because the shadows cannot understand it. It is a quiet, enduring rebellion against the tyranny of wanting more. It teaches us that the ring's greatest weakness is a joyful heart, and that is a truth that resonates far beyond the borders of Middle-earth. It echoes in our own lives, in the quiet moments when we realize that what we have right here, right now, is enough. So let's return, for a final time, to the Council of Elrond. They decide, wisely, not to give the ring to Tom. Gandalf's reasoning is the final piece of the puzzle. He says that Tom would not understand the ring's importance. He would treat it as a toy and would probably lose it. The ring is a matter of profoundest concern to us, but it would be a trifle to him. And he adds the most important line: it would not be safe with him. Not because he would be corrupted, but because his very nature is incompatible with the gravity of the quest. He is not a hero. He is not a warrior. He is something else. He is a constant. He is a reminder of what the world was like before the long defeat of history began. To ask him to carry the ring would be like asking a mountain to walk or a river to fight. It is a category error. The quest to destroy the ring requires a very specific kind of person. Not someone immune to its power, but someone who understands its weight and can bear it, however briefly. It requires a hobbit, someone small, someone who loves the simple things: food, friendship, a good pipe, but who also understands on a deep, fundamental level the difference between right and wrong. Frodo can be tempted. Sam can be tempted, but they can also resist because their desires are small and their love for each other is great. They are the middle ground between Sauron's absolute will to power and Tom's absolute contentment. They are us. They are the flawed, struggling beings who must navigate a world of temptation and make choices. Tom Bombadil is not a model for how to win the war. He is a model for what they are fighting for. They are fighting so that somewhere in the world, a place like the Old Forest can still exist. A place where people can sing nonsense songs, gather water lilies, and be masters of their own small lives, free from the shadow of a distant, power-mad tyrant. Tom is not the hero of the story, but he is the heart of its meaning. He is the living proof that Sauron's view of the world is not the only one. He is the hope that even in a world consumed by a struggle for power, there is another way to live, a way of being that the darkness can never truly comprehend or conquer. In the end, Tolkien's refusal to explain Tom Bombadil is the most brilliant choice of all. By leaving him an enigma, he preserves his function. To define Tom would be to diminish him. To categorize him would be to place him within the very systems of control and understanding that his character is meant to transcend. He is a mystery, and in that mystery there is a profound truth. He represents the things that lie outside our maps, the parts of reality that our philosophies and power structures cannot account for. He is the wild, untamable, joyful chaos that persists at the edges of our ordered world. He reminds us that not everything can be known, and not everything needs to be controlled. The journey to understand Tom Bombadil doesn't end with a neat answer. It ends with a deeper appreciation for the question. It forces us to look at the story we thought we knew and see its hidden philosophical depths. It reframes the epic struggle not just as a war of armies, but as a clash of fundamental realities, and it leaves us with a quiet, uplifting sense of wonder. What if the greatest power doesn't lie in changing the world, but in loving a small part of it so completely that it becomes the whole world? What if the ultimate victory against the darkness is not to defeat it in battle, but to live a life so full of light and song that the darkness simply cannot find a way in? Tom Bombadil is Tolkien's final, secret joke on the nature of evil. He is the living, breathing proof that the most powerful force in the universe isn't a magic ring or a dark lord. It's a good fellow in a blue coat on his way home to the one he loves, with water lilies in his hands. And that is a power that can never truly be broken. It is the song the world sings to itself when it thinks no one is listening. And if we're very quiet and very lucky, we can sometimes hear the tune.